Welcome to Voice of Deborah, real account of deception and justice. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from. My name is Vincent. I'm 56 years old, and I'm here to share my story because I never want anyone else to ignore the warning signs the way I did. This is about the night my wife of 30 years confessed to cheating, and how that confession unraveled a web of lies that had been carefully woven since the day we said, "I do." Let me start by saying that Olivia and I were the couple everyone envied. High school sweethearts who actually made it. 2 successful careers, 2 grown children, a beautiful home in the suburbs. We weathered every storm together. Financial struggles in our 20s, the stress of raising kids, aging parents, health scares. Or at least, that's what I believed. Looking back now, the signs were always there. I just refused to see them. It started about 6 months ago when Olivia became obsessed with her phone. Not in an obvious way. She was too smart for that. But I noticed she'd begun keeping it face down on every surface. She'd take it to the bathroom with her. She'd check it constantly during dinner, then quickly dismiss it as just work emails when I asked. Work had always been important to Olivia. She was a senior marketing director at a mid-sized consulting firm, and I respected her dedication. But this felt different. She started staying late at the office 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. Weekend team meetings became routine. She'd come home exhausted, barely able to hold a conversation, and go straight to bed. I told myself she was stressed, going through something at work she didn't want to burden me with. I even encouraged her to take some time off, to prioritize her health. She'd smile weekly and promise she would, once this big project was finished. The big project never finished. Then came the changes to her appearance. New clothes, younger, trendier than her usual style. She joined a gym and started going before work every morning. She changed her perfume to something more expensive, got highlights in her hair, started wearing makeup to bed so she could save time in the morning. When I complimented these changes, she seemed almost guilty, like I'd caught her doing something wrong. But I pushed that feeling aside. I was proud of her for taking care of herself. We were in our 50s. Why shouldn't she feel beautiful? Our intimate life had always been good. Not passionate like our 20s, but comfortable, connected. But over those 6 months, it disappeared entirely. She'd claim exhaustion, headaches, stress. I tried to be understanding. I tried to initiate conversations about us, about reconnecting. She'd nod along, promise we'd plan a date night. And then something would always come up. The emotional distance was the worst part. Olivia had always been my best friend. We talked about everything, our kids, our dreams, stupid things we saw online, deep philosophical questions at midnight. But she became a stranger in our own home, distracted, somewhere else even when she was sitting right next to me. I started having this gnawing feeling in my gut. Something was wrong. But every time I tried to bring it up, she'd have a reasonable explanation. I was being paranoid. She was just going through a stressful period at work. I needed to be more supportive. So I swallowed my concerns and tried to be the husband she needed. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago. Olivia had told me she was going to a work conference in Chicago for the weekend. She'd been to dozens of these over the years, so I didn't think twice about it. I kissed her goodbye Friday morning and settled in for a quiet weekend. Saturday afternoon, I was cleaning out the garage, a project I'd been putting off for months. In a box of old files, I found Olivia's old planner from 25 years ago. I smiled, flipping through it, remembering those early years of our marriage. The scribbled notes, the heart she'd draw around date nights, the shopping list that always included something special for V. That's when a photograph fell out. It was Olivia, maybe 27 or 28 years old, at what looked like a beach. She was laughing, radiant, wrapped in someone's arms. But it wasn't me. The man was unfamiliar. Dark hair, athletic build, expensive-looking watch visible on the wrist that held her close. My hand started shaking. I told myself it could be innocent, an old friend, a co-worker. But the way he was holding her, the way she was looking at him, I knew that look. I'd seen it in our own wedding photos. I turned the photo over. In Olivia's handwriting, Catalina Island, 1999. The best weekend of my life. We'd been married for 4 years by then. Our daughter was 2. Our son was on the way. I sat in that garage for 2 hours, staring at that photo, my mind racing through every memory of 1999. The weekend she'd gone to her college roommate's bachelorette party. The weekend I'd stayed home with our daughter, changing diapers and watching Disney movies, while my wife was apparently having the best week in her life, with another man. I wanted to call her immediately, demand an explanation. But something stopped me. If this was real, if my suspicions were correct, confronting her while she was potentially with someone else would only give her time to coordinate a story. Instead, I started looking. I went through every box in that garage, every old file, every forgotten drawer, and I found more. Not photos. Olivia was too careful for that, but evidence nonetheless. Credit card statements from years ago showing charges to hotels on nights she claimed to be at work conferences. Receipts for expensive dinners for 2 at restaurants we'd never been to together. A bank statement from an account I didn't know existed, with regular withdrawals marked cash. The pattern went back years. A decade. 2 decades. Maybe longer. My entire marriage had been a lie. When Olivia came home Sunday night from her conference, I was sitting in our living room with a box of evidence on the coffee table. She walked in, pulling her suitcase, chattering about the keynote speaker and the networking sessions. Then she saw my face, saw the box. She went completely pale. "Vincent," she said quietly, "we need to talk." "Yes," I agreed. "We do." She sat down across from me, and for the first time in months, she really looked at me. Her eyes were filled with tears, but also something else. Relief, maybe, like she'd been carrying a weight she was finally ready to put down. "I've been unfaithful," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm so sorry. It's been eating me alive. I never meant for it to happen, but it did, and I can't take it back." She was using the present perfect tense. Have been, not was. "I'm going." "How long?" I asked. She closed her eyes. 6 months. I picked up the photograph, slid it across the table. Her face crumbled. "How long, Olivia?" "Vincent, that was so long ago. That was different. That doesn't." "How long?" She broke down completely then, sobbing, shaking, and through the tears, the truth came out. His name was Garrett. They'd met at a professional conference the year after we got married. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, a mistake, but they kept running into each other at industry events. Then they started arranging to run into each other, meeting up a few times a year, then more frequently. For 30 years, my wife had maintained a parallel relationship, not quite a full affair. They'd see each other sporadically, whenever they could arrange it without raising suspicion. He was married, too. They'd built entire lives with other people while maintaining the secret connection they couldn't seem to let go of. The recent changes, the phone obsession, the late nights, the emotional distance, that was because Garrett had gotten divorced 6 months ago. He'd started pushing Olivia to leave me, to finally choose him. She'd been trying to figure out what she wanted. "And what do you want?" I asked, my voice cold. She looked at me with those tear-stained eyes and said, "I don't know." That's when I stood up. "Well, you have time to figure out," I said, "because I'm leaving." She panicked then, grabbed my arm, started pleading. It was just confusion. She loved me. She'd made a terrible mistake. We could work through this. 30 years of marriage meant something. We could go to counseling. She'd never see Garrett again. "Please don't leave. Please." But I was already packing. I threw clothes into a suitcase while she followed me around our bedroom, crying, apologizing, bargaining. I took my important documents, my laptop, the photo of our kids from my nightstand. I left my wedding ring on the dresser. "Where are you going?" she asked as I headed for the door. "That's none of your concern anymore," I said. I checked into a hotel that night, called my brother, and asked if I could stay with him for a while. He asked what happened. I told him I'd explain in person. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney. Over the following weeks, more truth emerged. Through my lawyer's investigation, we discovered that Garrett wasn't just some random conference connection. He worked for a competing firm. Some of the proprietary information and client contacts that had helped Olivia advance her career had actually come from him. Their affair hadn't just been emotional and physical. It had been professionally advantageous for both of them. The affair had affected our finances, too. That secret bank account I'd found, funded by money she'd been siphoning from our joint accounts for years. Thousands of dollars spent on hotel rooms, gifts for Garrett, trips she disguised as work travel. I told our children. They were devastated. Our daughter stopped speaking to her mother. Our son tried to play mediator, but even he couldn't justify what Olivia had done. Olivia's world fell apart quickly after that. Word got around in their professional circle. Someone who'd seen her with Garrett over the years finally connected the dots and mentioned it to the wrong person. Her reputation took a hit. She didn't lose her job, but the respect she'd built over 3 decades became tainted. Garrett, meanwhile, decided he didn't want her after all once the affair went from exciting secret to messy public scandal. He cut off all contact, blocked her number. She'd blown up her marriage for a man who couldn't handle the reality of an actual relationship with her. I'm not telling this story for revenge or sympathy. I'm telling it because I want anyone who's feeling that gnawing doubt, that instinct that something's wrong, to trust yourself. I ignored red flags for months because I didn't want to believe the truth, because I'd invested 30 years and couldn't imagine it all being based on a lie. But those 30 years weren't all lies. The good memories we made, the children we raised, the life we built, those were real. They just weren't the whole story. Today, I'm living with my brother while the divorce is finalized. I've reconnected with old friends I'd neglected. I've started therapy to work through betrayal and rebuild my sense of self-worth. I've even started dating. Nothing serious, just remembering what it feels like to have someone genuinely interested in knowing me. Olivia has tried to reach out several times. She wants to talk, to explain, to apologize more thoroughly. But I'm not interested in her explanations anymore. She made her choices every day for 30 years. I'm making mine now. The hardest part wasn't the cheating itself. It was realizing that the person I trusted most in the world had been lying to my face for longer than some people are alive. Every "I love you" had been at least partially false. Every anniversary celebration had been a performance. Every moment I thought we were building our future together. She'd been keeping one foot in an escape route, but I survived it. And I'm building something new, a life based on honesty, starting with being honest with myself. If your gut is telling you something's wrong, investigate. Don't make excuses for someone who's actively deceiving you. Don't sacrifice your peace of mind to preserve someone else's lies. And don't think that time invested means you owe someone forgiveness they haven't earned. I gave Olivia 30 years. I'm giving myself the rest of my life to do better. This is Vincent, and this is my truth. If my story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments. Where are you watching from? And have you ever ignored warning signs you wish you confronted sooner? Let's support each other through these difficult journeys.